Okay. So like I said, we have a couple more problems to finish up. We don't have much left here, but then I'm going to give you guys a little bit of time to get working on it. So now example 3, it's not currently isolated. So we have to isolate isolate the absolute value first. So I'm just going to write a little note up here to remind us of that. So make sure you isolate that absolute value first before you do anything else. Now in this case, when I go to isolate the absolute value, I'm going to do what? What are we getting rid of? What are we moving in this case? We check with Justine to think she worked ahead on it. I think you forgot to do something. What did you move first? You did that part right. There's something you're missing.
I divided -2.
Okay, so we want to divide by a -2. Now, what do we have to remember to do when we divide by a -2 with inequalities? Yeah, we're going to have to flip the inequality. So this is definitely a tough problem. So we have to flip the inequality here. So this flips because we divided by a -2. Now we can set up our 2 equations, but you have to do that first. Because we divided by the -2. So now we're going to do 3 and -3, but the inequality got flipped to begin with. So definitely a little bit tricky there. So this first one stays the way it was. Now the second one's also going to flip. So this one requires that I flip twice here. So C is going to be greater than 4. That's half my answer. And then C is also going to be less than 1. So when I go to put this on my number line, I'm going to have to talk my way through this. C is what compared to 4? It's trying to eat the C, so that means it's greater than 4, but it's going to be less than 1. So this one's an OR inequality. Oops. Or inequality. All right, we have one more question here to do, and this is the one that I changed the problem. So if you didn't notice, I made that a -7 to begin with. So again, before we start this problem, we're going to have to isolate the variable. Or isolate the absolute value, sorry. So move that 7 over first. I meant to grab orange, and that's some sort of pea green there. So we isolated that variable first. And now we have to set up our 2 equations. But notice, on this one, I flipped the inequality on that -1. So a lot to remember with these problems. But now, in order to get rid of that negative x, I want it to be a positive x, so I have to divide by -1. I'm going to have to flip the inequality again. And I promise there won't be this much flipping of the inequalities in your homework. I just try to pick some that were tough here. So we had to flip again because we divided by a -1. And here too, so we divided by a -1. And the way you know that you haven't done something totally crazy during the problem is when you go to graph this, it should be an and or an or inequality. The arrows would never be going like the same direction. Now this time it's going to be filled in circles. It's less than 4 but greater than 12. Greater than or equal to. So this one's another or inequality. Okay, questions there at all? So please be careful. These problems do take a little bit longer. Make sure you set up the 2 equations. Make sure you're careful about your graphs if they're asking you guys to do any kind of graphing. So understand that it's a really easy check for me to say, hey, you were supposed to graph these, and then if you don't have graphs, it makes me question the rest of your homework. So make sure you guys do everything it's asking you guys to do. Again, I would suggest using your time wisely in case our ACT and ACP take up a lot of time. I don't know exactly what it's going to be.